Okay, beautiful. I figured I'd make you this little comprehensive video since I didn't get to see you this last week. So I just wanted to make further iterations of what we've gone over. So for the purpose of clarity, this capo is here for a reason because I am down tuned to whole step. As you can tell it when I take it off. This does not match your guitar, but when I do this, it will now. I have to hold it down because I don't have the best capo at home. So this will be your 1 fret, 3 fret, 5 fret, 7 fret, 9 fret, because you'd normally have a dot here for the 9, and then this will be your double dots, 12 fret, because this is 9, 10, 11, 12. So right here, this will be the double dots where everything would start over again. See? Okay, so with that being said, the musical alphabet is A through G. All chords are stemmed from those letters, whether it's sharp or flat. We'll get into that another time. But E and F and B and C are side by side. Be cool, everything's fine. B, C, E, F. So E and F will always be side by side if it starts here or if it's up here. That's what I mean by side, half step apart. Everything else in between is a whole step apart, aside from B, C, and E and F. So E, F, half a step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. B to C, half step, exactly. So C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. And then E to F again. There's your E to F side by side. So same concept applies to all the strings. So if you start on the A string, A to B will be a whole step. So A, skip a fret, just like that. And here's your A to B up here. Notice how they're the same. We'll get to that in a minute. So A to B, B to C, just like up here. And then C to D, whole step, D to E, whole step, E to F, half step. Okay, F to G, whole step, G to A, whole step, A to B. See? So it starts over again. A to B, A to B, okay? And then D string, this is the only other one you really need to know. I mean, you would need to know all of them, but the main bass notes are stemmed from here. And what I mean by that, your bass note, for example, G chord. That's your bass note. That's why we hit that string or include that string for all of them. For the C, for example, this is the bass note because A, B, C. So there's your bass note. That's why in most books they'll tell you not to strum this E string first because it's not hitting the bass string first. Now, granted, you can include it. You won't notice it, including it. But if you started picking a C chord, it might not register for some people to be as clean sounding, but really it's completely personal preference. I don't mind hitting the E string for the C chord. Anyhow, so that's your C chord bass note. And then your D chord, when you make a D major or D minor, it doesn't matter. This is your D bass note because that's your D string. So, see, for either one. Or even D minor 7. You want to include that bass note. Now you can include the A string because the D chord, whenever you make up chords, there's 3 notes in the chord. Unless there's like add 9s, 13s, 7s, things like that. Those will include more than, or 4 notes or more. But if it's just a C major, D minor, B flat major, any of those kind of just a letter plus either a little letter or no other letter. So either it's C or, is that right? Yeah, C to U, or you know, any of those numbers, any of the ones that don't have numbers is what I'm trying to say. So sorry. So C, D, all have 3 notes. So D is comprised of D, skip 1, F, skip 1, G, but there is an F sharp, so that's why I didn't specify it yet, but we'll get to that again later on in lesson times. It's not really crucial to know these kinds of things, but it's nice to know them. So D, F sharp, A, or C would be C, E, G. It's always going to skip one of the letters in between, and by that I mean when you're going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, you know, if you kept going on the letters included in the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C would be the octave, obviously. you have the chords are comprised of skipping to go to the next and skipping to go to the next for every chord. G, B, D, A, C sharp, E, E, G sharp, B, F, A, C. You know, it's always skipping. F skips the G to A, skips the B, skip to C. It helps to have a piano whenever I discuss this kind of stuff. But so for example, with C, that's your bass for C. G, that was your bass for the G. For D, that was your bass for that. So it's crucial to know the 3 different bass strings, because that's how you're going to create your chord structures if you're ever wanting to create a chord from a different position in the future. So, so with our D string, we'll go through those real quick. D to E is a whole step. D to E. So E to F is a half step. F to G, G to A to B, B to C, and then C to D. So there's your octave. You should always reach your octave on the 12th fret. That should always be your indicator that you know that you've gone the scale upwards, because this would be your octave. So like when we learned that a scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So it starts with the root, and then you have 2 wholes, then there's a half. Then you have 3 wholes, and then there's a half. So that's just saying it's a whole step. So root, for example, root, E, whole step. This is for a major scale, by the way. Root, whole step, whole step. So that's 2 whole steps. Now it's going to be a half step. Now it's going to be 3 whole steps. So from here, whole step, from here, whole step, from here, whole step, and then here's your octave, because it's the double dots right here. So that's your whole E scale. Sorry. Or root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now going this way, it'll be root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Hear how that was the same? Oh, my bad. Now this, I'll do it again. Okay, so we're not getting into that quite yet. I'm just trying to show you the different ways to get to the same note. That note right here is the same note as that is up here. That's the wild part about guitar. When you start realizing there's repeat notes in different positions, it's like, wow. It's both more confusing and also both simple at the same time. But the more confusing at first, and then over time it feels simple. So with that being said, it's good to know where the scale notes are as well, because that's how you can create the chords that go with that scale. So E, for example, 1, 4, and 5 will all be major. 2, 3, and 6 will all be minor, and then the 7 is always diminished. So meaning that is going to be root will be a major chord, so that's your E bass note, so you make an E major chord because the 1 is always major. So sorry, my capo is not going to be ideal here. Now that's your root. That's your 1, okay? Now your 2 would be this note right here. Now we talked about there would be in-betweens, E, F, G, so that makes that an F sharp. Why is it an F sharp? Because you have to go in order of the letters. So E, after E in the alphabet, is an F, right? So F is here, but going up 1 makes it an F sharp. So root, whole. So that is an F sharp now. And what did we say 2, 3s, and 6s always were? Minors. So F sharp has to be a minor chord. Now how do I know how to make an F sharp minor chord? Because this is your bass note. So we make an E, right? Now if I wanted to make an F, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to flatten, or we'll raise technically all that, and I'm making the E shape still. See how this is the E shape back here? But if I move it up one and add this one, that is now an F chord because of my bass note. Notice the shape is the same. I'm just barring it as if my finger is now the capo, because when you make an E chord, if you think of this capo as being your finger, and if I move it up one, now it's an F chord. If I move it up one, now it's an F sharp major. If I move it up one, it is now a G sharp, or a G major, sorry. If I move it up one, G sharp major. A major. Notice. It's just a higher form, higher tone of an A. So here's the G. See what I mean? So that's why it's crucial to know like this shape, the E shape, because it is one of the movable shapes that you can create any chord going up the fret, as long as you can confidently create this shape. So that was your E, that was your root. So I said the root to a whole step. These are your root notes that I'm trying to show you that would create the chords that'll go with E major chords, or E major scale. So now I'm going to create a whole step, and that is a minor chord, so I'm not going to use my middle finger because it's a minor. Because E minor has no index finger or no middle finger. However you want to make an E minor, you can make it this way, you can make it this way. We've made E minor 7s this way. So just with those two, make it an E minor. If I were to bar it, now it's an F minor. Now if I take it up one, it's an F sharp minor. So E to F sharp. See? So that F sharp. Now, if I wanted to make the 3 chord, which was E, whole step, whole step. So there's your 3 note of the scale, which makes it the bass note of the 3 chord. So that makes it an E, F, G, sharp. See? So it's, and like I said, you have to go in order of the letters, E, F, G. So we have to have some form of an E, some form of an F, some form of a G. And what I mean by some form of, because it could be an F sharp, it could be a G flat, but we're in the key of E, so it can't be a G flat, because then you would have E, G flat, G sharp. You can't have 2 of the same. It has to be some form of that letter E, some form of that letter F, G, A, B, C, D, and E again to make it the full octave. Always have to have one unique letter for each one. So this is E to F sharp minor. Now that's your 2. So like we said, root, whole, whole. There's your G sharp for your 3, and it has to be 2, 3, 6s are all minor, so we have to make it a minor. So again, no middle finger. So listen, just so you can try to really wrap your head around this. So if I used E, F sharp, and G sharp, all of them will always go together. Okay, so now I added in the 4 chord, which 1, 4, and 5s are always major. So E was major. 1, that's your 1, root, whole step, half step. So there's my half step. That was the 4, root, that's your 2, that's your 3, there's your 4. And like I said, 4s are always major. So that is a major chord. So we bring the middle finger back in, because again, this is based on the root note of this string. This string is your E string. Therefore, you will always make some form of an E shape, because this is your bass note. Just like over here was your bass note E. Now your bass note is this one, so it's still, and it's a major still, so it's going to be an E shape, but with the capo being your finger. So that's your A chord now. Now the benefit of knowing these notes as well as knowing these string names is that you know that this one's an A. So you do not need to make this chord. You can just simply use the A as the bass note and make your A chord this way, because now this is the second form of an open and movable chord. So, real quick to review the open chords, C, A, G, E, D spell caged, right? So I didn't go in order. Obviously that would have been A, C, D, E, and G if I went in order, but the reason why we call it caged is another reason down the road. But I just want to show you that those are the 5 open chords, because we have 2 letters that are missing, right? C, A, G, E, D. The 2 letters that are missing are F and B. F and B look like, the F chord looks like the E chord, just up one, and the B chord looks like, or well, that would technically be the B chord, looks like the